Hello and welcome to our webinar today on using electronic exercise books to support blended learning. First of all, I must apologise for our delayed start today. We've had a few technical issues this end, and we've got a presenter that's struggling to get in at the moment, but hopefully he will be in very shortly. But we are joined by Claire Buckler today, so we will start with Claire today. I'll introduce myself and my colleagues first. My name's Suzanne Cray, and I'm the CAS Community Outreach Manager for communities across the southwest of England. And I'm your host for this session. I'm also joined by my colleague, Wendy Piccinini. And Wendy is the Outreach Manager for London and the East of England. And she'll be moderating today's session and bringing your questions to today's speakers. This webinar is part of the CAS Inspire series. CAS Inspire is a series of resources consisting of live webinars and expert panelists discussing topical computing education matters in which the audience can get involved. Also featured are videos teaching computing concepts, podcasts and career inspiration webinars. During this session, please use the question window on the right-hand side of your screen to ask questions. All attendees are in listen-only mode. The top of the window has an orange rectangle which can be expanded or collapsed. If you'd like to download a copy of this webinar and or the slide deck, both will be available on the CAS website in due course. If you're using social media today, the hashtag for the event is #CASInspire. During the webinar, please type any questions into the question window. There'll be a break at the end of each presentation, and Wendy will bring any questions to the presenter then. So this afternoon, I'm joined by Claire Buckler and hopefully later Thomas Lang. Claire is currently Director of Learning Commons at DHSB in Plymouth, Devon, focusing on the delivery of digital skills across the community. She's also the project lead for the Google Reference School and EdTech Demonstrator titles for DHSB. She'll be telling us today how she has implemented electronic workbooks in their Google environment. So without further ado, and not to keep you waiting any longer, I'm going to hand you over to Claire.
Thank you, and can I just pass on any apologies that I need to have. The traffic was just awful and I've had to come home to present to you today, so apologies. So hello, welcome. It's a very short presentation today on our use of electronic exercise books. There's a little bit of context before I start, and we are a Google reference school, so we have used Google for many years now, and we are also an EdTech demonstrator school, and this is just a small part of how we use educational technology and how we've embedded it across our community. And if you do want to know more, then please do get in touch. There's a little bit here about our journey, just so you can kind of see where we're coming from. Now, we've been working on this journey since 2013 when we introduced a digital leader scheme. And that really, the student voice there really drove the movement from Frog to the rollout of G Suite in 2014. Staff were trained and we became a reference school for Google because of how we embedded Google, a G Suite as it was, a G Suite for education across the community at that point. Skipping forward to 2019, we rolled out an optional parental purchase scheme for Chromebook devices. And it's been really popular. Last year, we moved to a cloud-based MIS. We cleared out all of our fixed PCs, and effectively next year we will be a serverless school, so we don't actually host anything now on site. So where are we at the moment? Well, there was a huge uptake for our parental Chromebook. So 83% of all of our students have a one-to-one device, or will have a device that they can bring into school. But no student is without a device, and actually we buy all of our pupil premium students exactly the same Chromebook that we recommend students buy. And we've also got banks of them in departments which have been legacy before we had the one-to-one. So, you know, students can come and loan them out, we can loan them out, teachers can come and grab them, you know, they're always available when we need those. And the expectation really is that they're there if the pedagogy needs them to be there. Okay, they're not just there for every lesson just because. So really, because of this kind of investment and the drive from our leadership group, who know the importance of digital skills and accessibility for our community, when COVID, and this isn't about COVID, but you know, COVID was a surprise and we were already doing this, but what it meant was we just moved all of our students online, and there were no teething troubles for them at all. All of our students had a device. The 17% of students who didn't, we loaned from our bank. So it just meant that we could be reassured that our students were online. And electronic exercise books were one of the ways that it made that transition seamless for us and enabled us to continue a really high quality education, and also, you know, involve those students while some of them might have felt isolated otherwise. So on to the main part, really. This is our use of electronic exercise books. So this is one of the ways that we kind of embrace the benefits of being a cloud-based school. And I love this photo. I think it really kind of sums up our ethos at DHSB. So this was when we were still in school, but we had, well, kind of like we are now, really. Sometimes we've got students in, sometimes we don't. And this is one of our students here joining in via Google Meet and actually working collaboratively with his classmates as he would do in class. And, you know, our students have really, really loved this. It's meant that they really know that their education hasn't been left behind. And also, I think for their mental health, we were having tutor sessions, you know, so at the moment I have 2 students out from my computer science class. So I just open up Meet, and if they're able to, obviously if they're not poorly, they can just join in. And it's a really inclusive, lovely way. So this is what our electronic exercise book's like. So we had a little bit of fun with this, and what we've actually done is made it look like an exercise book. Obviously other departments can make them look different. This is what we came up with, and in reality it's just a bank of Google Slides. So you can see here we have different colours for different year groups. Other departments have their own spin. You know, we can graffiti them a little bit because they're online, and you can see here at the bottom we do have some kind of digital stickers. So this is the bank that we've built up, because we realised actually at Key Stage 3 they do quite like a little gold star or a little well done, but we've also turned those into in line with our kind of our behaviour sort of procedure, so they get like an accommodation badge and stuff as well. So for a blank electronic exercise book, this is what we did. It's basically slides. We've set the layout as what we think they would need for their book. Obviously they can put whatever they like in here, but we allow students to create a new slide, and then we encourage them to go to layout and think about what it is that they might want to do and think about what's appropriate. So for example, we can just have set squared paper or graph paper as a background. It's probably worth knowing actually that the Chromebooks that we have in school are Lenovo 500Es with a pencil, so we can flip them around and the students can write directly on that. And when we were in consultation with teachers, you know, what device would work really well in class, having that pencil and the flip was really important. Science wanted it, maths wanted it, art wanted it, and art are doing some fabulous things with electronic kind of art on those Chromebooks. So you can of course just obviously type on the top, and students really embrace this and actually really quickly discovered what works well for them, and some of them just love writing with their pencil, which isn't for me at all, actually, I have to say. So really though, I think the strength of the electronic workbook is Key Stage 3. So we can really structure them and we can put scaffold in place for the student. It also means that every student gets the same content and assessment despite who is teaching them. So our curriculum at Key Stage 3 is actually called Enterprise, and it's a mix of computer science, digital skills and business studies really, and we have this entrepreneurial mindset. But because of this, then often we'll have a business teacher who might be teaching some computer science parts and vice versa. So a scaffolded workbook really kind of helps everyone. So this here is an example of it's more of a business-led one. It's our one where they research and create their own brand of cereal. And you can see here that we can really prompt them for what's required. There's a mind map that they need to complete, a table, squared paper for a mood board, and where concepts are hard, or maybe where misconceptions often occur, we can add in keywords and we can put in vocab in relevant places. And because it's electronic, we can do that as many times as we want. So there's no cutting and sticking into the book. We can just send those out to the students. We can also scaffold the questions, and then you can differentiate these and send slightly different workbooks out to different students. And little tiny things that are really useful, like links to relevant research sites, you can just embed them straight into their electronic workbooks instead of sending those out a different way. Benefits as well are the ease in which you can give feedback. So here we just, in the notes section, this is a clear expectation that the teacher is going to give some feedback and we expect the student to respond. This is obviously dependent on your marking policy, and there is no expectation in our school how you do this. We're very flexible. It's what you think will work at what point. But it's really nice for them to have that visual reminder that they are expected to read and respond. And what works really well is the voice speaker notes, which isn't for everyone. I can touch type, so I don't use it, but I have to say students really enjoy just turning that on and just being able to talk and give their feedback that way. That is a computer science way, really. In science in particular, they use Mote for feedback, which is a Chrome extension, and they also like to mark with a visualizer, so they might record, have the visualizer looking at their actual exercise book and just talking through the points on there, and that's worked really well in science. So this is an example of a GCSE. I teach computer science. This is Mr. Scott's class. So you can see that Mr. Scott really likes to mark his like a book. So he has his pencil and he ticks and draws little smiley faces and things. He uses it a lot like a regular book. You can see that the student has responded and he's used the voice tool to put some text in here. They were looking at natural language interfaces here. And the great thing is, in my opinion, is you can just embed a video. So whenever you want, it might be that you feel the student needs, it has some misconceptions. So you can just put a video in to see if they would watch the video, and it might provide some stretch and challenge as well. But you're kind of, you're really free just to add whatever you want, and there's no, you don't have to print any or anything like that. You can just put it in and, is this appropriate for this student at this time? Well, yeah, I think he needs to watch this. And it might be that it's appropriate for several students, in which case you can add it to several slides. Other departments have different ways of doing this. So we assign this via Google Classroom, but we don't get them to hand it in. And then we just have one section on Google Drive where it's all done for us and we can just click on it and see it, and we can use private comments as well. Science and DT have a Google sheet which effectively just links them directly to this and they just share it with the student. As a school, we don't dictate any of this. They can do what they think works for them. Obviously though, COVID has really highlighted the strengths of this, and I don't think there's many departments that don't have some form of electronic exercise book or way of interacting, particularly at the moment when we've got students in and out of the classroom. So just to sum up, because I think I'm kind of around the 10 minutes that we thought you might want, this is a great way to track student progress. We really wanted to reduce our printing costs, and we started this obviously pre-COVID, so we're now a paper-free department. We do have written books for exam assessments still, which is something that it's important whilst computer science is still a written exam. It's fantastic for SEND support, so you can put in the filtered paper, you can put it on a different background, and the student has control over that as well, so they can amend their booklet to however they want to see it. Google Classroom has the plagiarism checker built in, and we can still use assignments separately, so if I want to actually formally assess something, I don't necessarily set it in their electronic exercise book. It depends what it is, but it allows for lots of flexibility. It allows for students to carry on from home. The continuity from one to the other is fantastic, and because we have that one-to-one device, that's seamless for us. And it has the continuity for non-specialists, so I know what all of the teachers, what all of the students have, and the assessment is exactly the same for them. it's really easy to differentiate and target misconceptions as well. So, you know, this is just one of the ways that we're using Google to provide our kind of blended learning offer. And I think, looking at the time, that's me done. So I think, do I just relinquish control?
You're fine for the moment, Claire. We'll just see if there's. And thank you very much. That was
Sorry,
brilliant.
Stop tour. It was between 10 and 15 minutes.
That was amazing. Thank you. You know, and I've seen some of the work that you've done before, and I always just think it hangs together so nicely. And that certainly came across. Before we just finish up with you, Claire, I just wondered if we had any questions, Wendy, in the question window.
Yes, we do have a couple of questions. The first one is just about how long does it take to set up the electronic exercise books? Goodness, can't get my words out this afternoon, sorry. Which is a really...
my dad's back from daycare, that's good. So,
yeah, question, because teachers are busy and you know,
sorry. So obviously
they want to know about.
We've just set these up from schemes of work that we already had. We did actually used to have printed booklets a long time ago, which we kind of toyed with, so it was just a case of cutting and pasting them, and of course they last forever. It's also what I didn't mention, but we do use a Chrome extension called Slip in Slide, and what that means is if I've already assigned them via Classroom and the student owns them, I still have the ability to insert slides into their presentation. So for example, in our A-level ones, I'd asked the students to answer a key question, and then when I was marking it, I realized that they needed to see an exemplar. So using that extension, I could get an exemplar and just send it to all of those presentations. I don't have to physically go into each one to do that. So that's a huge benefit. But in terms of time, yeah, not particularly time consuming.
That's a really useful tip, that is, mentioning about, you know, sending that out to all students, because, you know, saving time is what teachers are interested in, isn't it, and working in more efficient ways. So that's really interesting to know. Thank you. And the other question is another hot topic for teachers, which is how often do you mark these electronic books? Because marking is always something that teachers, you know, like to know about, and can we reduce marking, and the time marking. So
it's a really interesting question, and I'm assuming we've probably got lots of computer scientists actually on this webinar. We do get asked that a lot for other subjects, because I think they feel sometimes that as soon as the student has bothered to kind of communicate it electronically, you almost feel like you have to respond, and we treat it the same as we would do a normal exercise book, and obviously that depends on your marking policy. At DHSB we mark twice a term formally, and I tend to do that separately from that book. But I have to say, because it's so easy, I might just flick through, because with the Classroom you can just click the arrow and just flick through, and I might just stick a badge, particularly for Key Stage 3. So it's really not time consuming at all. And the benefit, sorry, I do love my book. So the benefit of the electronic exercise book is I can have a bank of say 3 comments, because normally you can kind of say, you know, these ones need support with this is a misconception and I need to do this, and you can just copy and paste it going along, so I'm actually not writing the same comment over and over again.
Yeah, another really good tip, really helpful. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. That's great. I think that brings us to the end of the questions for now. And we're bringing in Thomas, who I think has joined us. He might have my name, Suzanne Cray, on the bottom of his screen, but he's with us now. So I'm going to make him presenter, and hopefully he can join us. But thank you very much, Claire.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. I should be there. Just needing to make sure that you see the right screen there. You should see the presentation only rather than my scribbles. Which screen do you see at the moment?
Thomas, we can see multiple screens at the moment. There's sort of a black screen overlaid onto what might be the desktop.
What was the trick again in Webinar to switch the other monitor on or change the monitor? Apologies for this.
I think if you go into presentation mode, you should be able to see the screen. At the moment, it's...
Yeah, I got two screens. That's why I just need to make sure that you're on the other screen. Otherwise, I need to just switch it over quickly. Just do that. Okay, I just switch over. Just hang on a second. Yeah, we had a complete meltdown on this machine, unfortunately. So I'm back in primary.
No problem.
Right.
Yeah,
I know very interesting to share this afternoon. So thank you for being persistent and making it onto the session. Yeah, we can see your screen now. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thomas, are you able to turn your camera on, or is that going to be a step too far for your computer today?
It should be on. Let's see, webcam. It's all set up nice. Is it on now?
Yes, it is. We can see you.
Just down free, but we won't worry about that. So that doesn't matter.
Okay. If I just introduce you, Thomas, and then you can get started. So thank you for joining us, Thomas. I know it's been a bit of an epic journey to just get here today. But Thomas Lang works as assistant head for digital at an independent girls' school in Reading. He's been teaching computer science and leading on digital learning for 20 years. Running the CAS Community Hub for Reading Secondary, and by the way, the next meeting's next Thursday, I'm led to believe. He will be sharing his experience of using OneNote today in his school. So without further ado, I'll hand over to you, Thomas. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you so much. It's a bit of a challenge today. I had a complete meltdown at 20 to 4 today, and my machine hasn't recovered at all. So we had to go to another studio, basically set it all up. But we got there, so apologies. But I listened to the some of the material from Claire as well, and some of them will resonate as well. Google is just another platform to Microsoft, but what I often find is that I learn a lot from the other system as well, of how people use it as well. When we talked about blended learning, it was very much like, what is blended learning these days? Post-COVID, it's almost like it has taken on a completely different meaning. And people look at remote learning, the hybrid learning, the digital learning, at home learning. So blended learning is, for me, is very much using digitally enhanced learning as well, whether the student actually sits with me in the classroom or is at home as well. And I think that's where we moved on to. Again, we're very lucky over the last few years to have worked with Microsoft and done a lot and have become a Microsoft Showcase school in that one, although in the last 20 minutes it didn't feel like it, but that was the hardware rather than anything else. But we've done a lot in getting everything together and getting the staff engaged in it. And that's, I think, is really the key as well. When you listen to all of this and when you listen to other schools, it's about the staff understanding what is at stake and how they can enhance their own delivery of lessons as well. And it's people approaching it very differently. So oops, back of it. So yes, we're fortunate that we have loads of devices in school now. You'll see different devices as well. There are Macs, there are iPads, there are Windows, but we are looking to more and more to guide them towards Windows. And when it comes to it, also to look at what we call digital ink. So we're looking for devices that have a touch screen, that with a stylus and a keyboard, that they have the best of all worlds, that they can actually annotate, mark, then do the maths, the chemistry, all of those subjects on there, rather than just typing into the device on a traditional laptop, because that's really where I think a lot of the additional advantages come in from the remote learning or blended learning as well. So, but I come back to that later. So our world is basically all around the Microsoft 365. Everything lives in the cloud, so it's accessible anywhere, anytime, and we pretty much believe that we started off that thinking by saying we don't care about the hardware principally, but it makes life a lot easier for the network manager if everything is Windows based, I tell you. But in principle, everything is delivered through the browser and then through the apps, and the apps, it doesn't matter on the iPad or the Windows device, they're getting closer and closer to each other. So that's our environment, and the OneNote is very much there. Our main contact with the cloud. A lot of schools now use the Teams around it as well, which becomes another wrapper, and the Teams meeting is just a small part of the Teams, just to do it, to emphasize that. The OneNote is really where that is our online textbooks, that our virtual textbook as well. I will also introduce or mention a couple of other things that we're integrating into that online exercise book. CAS is where we pick up our digital textbooks. So rather than having paper copies, we actually subscribing to CAS, which have like a rental service for textbooks, and some of them are working out really well price-wise. Others they're a bit more costly, but principally some of our sixth form girls now, they only come in with their device. They don't have a physical textbook anymore. They don't have an arch lever folder anymore. They literally just have their device and do it there. Seneca Learning, you might be familiar with, is featuring there. Replit for our coding, XMind for mind mapping, Weightlift for having instant mini websites that you can do on topics, and then Snakeify for, again, a coding platform as well that I will show a little bit of. So what does our OneNote look like? So OneNote, this is literally where everything lives. It's your old filing cabinet, folder. Everything is so. As a teacher, I have different sections there to me. So for me, I have the content library where every single topic that I'm teaching for the year is available to me. Then I have a teacher section that only I can see, and then I can see every single student's work in real time, every time, everywhere. As well. So this is, for example, the section for the binary system that I'm just teaching at the moment, and you'll see the PowerPoint is there, the worksheets, the home worksheets, and everything else as well. It comes all nicely together on there. So complete access. I have the worksheets living in the cloud as well. So I would just point them at those and saying this would be the homework. So it doesn't matter whether you have pre-made ones, whether you're giving work on the at the time that you're creating something in the lesson, but it's all easily to be pointed at. It doesn't matter whether the student is not in the lesson because they're ill or quarantining. They all have access to the same material. So this is the worksheet before the student had a chance, and this is a worksheet that I literally worked with my Digitaling, and that's where Digitaling comes in so well. Because they can do it in the lesson. It works absolutely fine that they're writing everything in the lesson. They don't have to try to get the cursor there, then put a number one with a keyboard and everything else. They literally write like a piece of paper all the time. And I then see it and mark it as well. I put the ticks in and then give them stickers for good work and everything else. And that's then with them the whole time as well. So really, really important. So that's a worksheet before and after. That's a slide of one of the PowerPoints that I have the resources in. And again, the girls, in our case, they don't have to write any of the PowerPoint material. They have the same slide available on their device, and they would write all of their notes next to it. So all the additional information that they will additional to this. So it doesn't become like copy what is on the board anymore. It's there right next to it that they have it available. And once they've written it, it's there 15 months later for the revision as well. So this is really, really powerful as well. So this is like, so I collapsed, in this case, the content library in the teacher section only to show you that I have literally here on the side all the students. So every single student has their own area, and I can go in and mark it there at any stage. So they can only see themselves, I can see everybody, and with marking as well, it's incredibly easy, because if I distributed a piece of work to mark, I literally jump from marked piece to marked piece in my marking. So I don't have to find it somewhere in the dungeons of their work. It literally is presented to me like if I had all the mark books open in front of me and mark very quickly through as well. So then we have the textbooks. So this is in the browser, but it also can be embedded into the OneNote itself. And any page that I have on this in this book, for example, I can hyperlink from the OneNote as well. So if I have a slide or a diagram, I can then say, go to this page here and either read through it, annotate it, bookmark it. I can get the links. Everything is there. Again, OneNote serves as the hub for all of that information. And by having all of this, the book there as well in electronic form, that helps me then as well by then going and saying, okay, I take this diagram, and this is now in the OneNote, and I took all the annotations off, and they can again do it in their own time as part of their revision there as well. So really important that you have this integration and the thinking, and you can jump depending on how your lesson goes. You can jump between the different pieces quite neatly around. Then Seneca Learning. So here's the screenshot again from what was in my lesson in OneNote, and then Seneca Learning is directly the link to the material that relates again to it, and they then can do very quickly just the one part that I gave them as an assignment as well. So in this case, it just doesn't quite link because I did the screenshot of it, but it would literally go to binary section as well, and then they would do a short mini section. Anything I do in the lesson as well under worked examples, again, if I do a binary calculation, that will stay with them forever. So they can go back there and see it as well, and I can see their worked examples as well. So again, really nice integration and only one click away from it. A lot of the stuff that Claire said as well, how close everything sits together and how often they can revisit it on there. Replit, a lot of computer science teachers probably use this as well now. With Replit as well, we use it for GCSE and A-level these days. And again, everything is really neatly linked to OneNote. I can use code snippets directly, or I can actually embed some of the code directly into OneNote as well. Here's a previous example of one of the practical sessions, and again, you can copy everything in there. I can make it run literally within OneNote as well now, and it's only one click away. That works really well. Obviously, I then also have in Replit the various tools available to me. So any code samples that I have a whole folder for different searches. Some of them unfinished, some of them with problems that I then use Prim on as well, that they can discover the mistakes and fix them. So really nice tools, but everything is only 1 or 2 clicks away as well. This is another big thing that when it comes to blended learning and using it, our exercise book as well, especially with computer science, I feel sometimes as well you need to have other tools available, and by bringing it all back into being able to bring it back into the OneNote as well. When the girls revisit the material 12 months later, 15 months later to revise again or look it up and saying, what was that about again? They always have the information from the time that we did it, but also they literally 1 click away from redoing it again. So it's not faffing around saying, okay, I have no idea how to get to it anymore. So in this case, it was, for example, the loops. We can then copy some of those examples into it. They can even do their own revision guides and saying, give me some examples of it. But as a teacher, again, I'm benefiting from having a complete overview very easily and saying which student has completed which section already here. And for example, this one has attempted it but didn't succeed, and this one has made a good effort for all these units over the summer and got stuck on this one, but then in this section is as well. So, and this again, Snaky Fry is a free add-on, but by being able to integrate it into the OneNote, that it lives in the OneNote, I think is really important, and that's why I think the benefit comes from having this digital central depository, as I call it often, in there as well. Mind maps as well, just to again show the opportunity that people have with regards to using different methods of presenting the information for revision purposes, for learning purposes there as well. So XMind again is free to a certain version up there, so you're slightly behind and slightly feature limited, but principally it works for what you want in the school. So this would be the mind map, for example, for input output. The major parts that we talked about in that sequence is all listed, and what I would then do is develop with them all the parts. So in this case, I collapsed basically the different arms, and this what it would look like. So in the lesson, I can say, okay, what do you remember from screens and monitors? And hopefully they will pick up a few of those words, and then I can explode these further, and literally it becomes a mind map. And you'd be amazed when you actually do the test with them. If I go back to this, if I give them this and saying, can you 5 minutes do as many points as you can remember and add them on yourself, how closely after a couple of sessions it looks like this as well, that they remember all of those. So mind mapping works really well. And I think if you do it from within OneNote as well, it becomes one of their constant revision tools as well, that you can build in. Really, really easy to do there. The other thing that I'm blending in, again, using the OneNote as a recipient and container of everything, is using Weightlift. For example, on Weightlift, you can create mini websites very, very quickly, very easy. I'm involved in online safety, so this is, for example, a Weightlift that I'm building for the parents, for staff, and everything else. And it doesn't take me any time at all to create this in this fashion. So that's my big one that I have. But also, for example, the students are now interactively working and saying, okay, what are you considering at university? And they building everything that they want, which universities they want to go to, what they want to look at, and becomes our tool. So even as homework, I make them co-editors of, for example, the computer science there in the lower 6 at the moment. So they looked at a few courses already, and over time it will build bigger and bigger as well, and where the application deadline, how to write the personal statements, how to get an internship, get work experience, all of those things come in. And again, the beauty is that Weightlift you can embed as a full page. It looks like you made a mini website that appears picture perfect on a OneNote page as well. So those are the kind of things that are drawing together in OneNote, and I think that's where the power comes from using an online exercise book, and it's basically your exercise folder, your whole subject. It lives in one of those, and I work with it. The students work with it. I can see it and I can guide them, and it's also differentiation that takes place in that at that stage. It is really, really powerful, and I wouldn't want to teach without it these days anymore at all. So to summarize the main points of the blended learning with OneNote as a hub, there is one is that it's available anywhere, anytime, that it's available on any device, even their mobile phone. They can create sources there with a mobile phone, for example, as well. Anything that they see, for example, when we took the hardware apart, they were there with a mobile phone, taking pictures that are embedded directly into the OneNotes as well. Collaboration, absolutely fantastic that you have an area where everybody can work in real time together. Digital ink, that it doesn't limit it to just typing, and I think that's the biggest point in selling it to the schools, selling it to the students and the parents, that they can use it for every single subject. So maths is one of our biggest champion on the digital side, because since they gone into digital mode with digital ink, they're literally paperless in many ways now. Then digitally enhanced pedagogy, that the technology doesn't drive us, the hardware doesn't drive us. It is about looking at opportunities to use things better. And if you go deeper into it, like the summer model, where you substitute and then modify and everything else, the teaching, I feel as well that I'm enabling myself and the other teachers to more flexibly teach and allow the learning to be flexible to the learner. Differentiation, I've made huge strides in being able to deliver material in different ways to different students, whether that's a language issue, whether this dyslexia, whether it's organizational issues. You can do that. Extensions as well. In real time, you can give people additional work to their device, distribute their work as well. And accessibility has become a huge issue as well for us, that digitally enhances it. So many students are now taking their exams on the computer, but the real accessibility is, for example, English as an additional language, that when, for example, I present some of my material in OneNote, they can actually look on their device or the phone and have my PowerPoint with subtitles in their own language. And again, that's all built into it. It takes a little bit of getting used to the idea of how it works, but some of our EAL students have just rocketed through their material now, that they can do it. and you have access to resources everywhere. It's amazing of how that is coming together, because you are digitally enhancing your lessons there. So there's a lot to be gained from it. I know there are issues with regards to digital access and everything else, and accessibility of hardware, but it's a journey, and we're working with some of the schools as well together, and hoping that we can bring some of those to other schools as well. So that's all from me. I'm very happy to any time to expand on it or answer questions later on as well, but anything you have now, happy to answer now. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Thomas. That was amazing. I think I'm going to have to watch that 2 or 3 times. I'm glad we're recording it today. There's so much information to take away. But thank you. Wendy, were there any questions in the question window for Thomas?
Yeah, there's just one quick one, so I will bring it to you. Just before I do, just wanted to bring some of the comments from people watching this webinar live today. Just saying thank you so much for the session, extremely helpful, and that was brilliant. Thank you, Thomas. So we've got one question from James, and he was asking, where do you host your Weightlifts? Is it on OneNote?
Yes, so you create them in Weightlift, and then you just use the embed code and put the embed code onto the OneNote. And then it just becomes frameless, integrated into the page. It's absolutely super.
Brilliant, thank you. He says thanks. That's great. I think we'll leave it there, but do engage with Thomas and Claire through our Facebook pages or the CAS website when it goes live again, our new site on Tuesday. So carry on the conversation there. But thank you.
Thank you. And yeah, thanks to everyone for joining us today and for bearing with us at the beginning. So apologies again for the delayed start, but I think you'll agree with us. It's been really useful anyway. Thank you very much to Claire and to Thomas for presenting for us today. And you will be able to see the recording of this on our website very shortly. Please share any personal highlights from this session via social media and the CAS website. So remember, the hashtag for the series is CASinspire. At the end of the webinar, a short survey will appear on screen, and we'd be grateful if you would take a minute to complete the survey. Our next secondary CAS Inspire session is next Thursday, sorry, not next Thursday, it's Thursday the 30th of September. And it's all about supporting the health and well-being of teenagers. And in fact, the primary session on the Tuesday is also health and well-being of teachers and young people too. So it's a really important week for us, very topical, and I think one not to be missed. You can book your place on that one on the CAS website as usual. So we hope to see you there. Thanks again, everyone, for joining. Thanks again to Claire and Wendy and Thomas, and we hope to see you next time. Bye for now.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Thank you.